Hi, everybody, and welcome to Your Screen. I'm Chris Baker. I'm here today with Valencia Hayes of Film Bath and barnabas Todt, who's the director of the wonderful film Those Who Remained, which is available now on Your Screen, where it can be rented until the end of season 4, which is the 19th of September, but we're carrying it over into season 5. So your last chance to see it will be the end of September. So Barnabas, welcome very much to Your Screen and congratulations on your film. And handing over now to Valencia, who's going to be talking to you about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, hi there. And thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'm really thrilled to talk to you. I love interviewing directors on films that I genuinely responded to. And yeah, I so enjoyed it. And to the point I cried at the end. And that's hard to do when you're watching a film on your laptop. So thank you for sharing that. And I look forward to talking to you about it. Yeah, so firstly, let's get to what inspired you. I know it was an adaptation of a novel, and I know that you co-wrote it. So how did that process evolve?
Yes, I discovered this novel maybe 6-7 years ago. I knew the author before. She's a psychologist, famous for this actually, as a psychologist in Hungary. She wrote a couple of books on her profession. And then I got to know that she wrote one fictional book, this one. And I read it, and I immediately thought that that this is a so rich story with these two wonderful characters, and they're so complex relationship. And somehow I was always attracted to stories about like middle-aged men and younger women. I don't know. I have this, I wouldn't say perversion, but it's not even obsession. It's just somehow I like Leon the Professional, for instance. It's one of my favorite movies. So of course it's an innocent relationship, and I insisted on it to stay that way, even as a screenwriter and then a director, obviously. But still, given it's a man and then a young, pretty, handsome, and healthy woman at the end, you know, you have the question, which is a you know, it's an exciting and complex question by the end of the movie.
Yes, and was that in the book? Is everything adapted?
Well, it was, but in a very different way. In one way, the book it carries or handles this relationship in a much more pure and clean way, even more pure than mine. So it's a pure stepfather, stepdaughter, brotherhood relationship. But then there is a strange scene in the book which I didn't even put it in the movie because it would be so much different. Because at that night, I don't know if I can spoil or I should spoil anything. Are the viewers after or before the screening? I'm not sure. Anyway, at the climax of the movie, there is at this ninth scene when they almost cross that line. Actually, in the book, they do cross it, but in a very different way. So I had to leave it out. Even though I loved that scene in the book, I had to leave it out because cinema is so much different, and it would have destroyed the movie actually.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because that was one of my questions. I was so impressed on the way that you managed to keep me on the edge of my seat, but I was so hopeful they wouldn't cross the line. But you grounded it in such a reality that even when they almost did, it was credible without being offensive. It wasn't Lolita-esque, but I was so glad you didn't go there. And knowing that wasn't in the book as well, I think that was a really excellent choice. That felt so, felt really genuine. And the relationship, the paternal relationship that he develops with her initially, I did think, is this going to let me down, and he's got an ulterior motive. And it was so inspiring to see a character who was, as you said, so pure, and was this knight in shining armor in a way for her, for Clara. And so I take it that was one of my questions. Did you intentionally keep that fine line where he doesn't really cross it? And yeah, you said you did.
I did. I always how to say, think of the characters, what would they do or what they wouldn't do. And in my movie, and that actor with that face and with that character, he's so he's like a hero to me, like an example for other people, other men. It's like these men really never exist anymore, and he's like a medieval knight or something like this in a way. And I had some examples from my family, people like this. I'm not like that good, unfortunately, but my brother almost, and my wife's uncle almost, and I took them also as a what would they do. So yes.
And I thought that was a very brave choice, doing that amidst Holocaust, post-Holocaust film, because I was waiting for horror, for something to remind me of the horror of the Holocaust. And we never saw, it was never violent. It was such a fresh take on the Holocaust. And it was that intentional. I didn't feel it was a war movie, and that's what made it so original for me. Did you intentionally leave out a lot of those new references?
Yes, of course, for multiple reasons, but one is budget, obviously. But even though if I would have had the triple of this budget that it was made, I would have left it out because it's so used already, and we saw it so many times. And even the cover of the book itself says that she, the author, wanted to focus on the continuity, on the positive side of humanity, of the destiny of those who came back. So we've seen so many times the horrors, the bad people, the Nazis, the camps, those skeleton people, but very rarely the outcome of it and how they dealt with that huge trauma.
Yes,
sorry.
Oh no, it has that real sense of that PST, that trauma of being that survivor's guilt type of feeling about it that is so intense. We don't even need the backdrop of the war. We know I felt like I knew everything that happened to them without having to see it.
Yes, we are very well trained because there are so many books and films about it. Fortunately, I'm not against it at all, obviously. But nowadays, we know so much about it that, for instance, in the book, full chapters talk about his coming, the day he came back, or the nightmares he has about the camps. But then because of the language of visual and cinema, I only just a tattooage was enough for me to show almost everything he went through. So yes, I had to be very disciplined about flashbacks. Even flashbacks were all positive in my film. All the flashbacks were in a positive context. Because I imagine them to remember to the good things. So those people either erased those horrors, either never talked about them, never talked. Survivors stayed at home within their family and stayed silent for decades, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, and it was that moment with the tattoo that was when it clicked for me. I was piecing it together. So again, it was another brilliant opportunity that you took to tell us what happened without having to say anything. And your actor was the perfect choice, wasn't he, for that? He was so restrained, and I thought, what was that like with the casting? I mean, did you find that challenging, finding the right actor for that role?
I remember he was always on the map from the beginning. I knew him before. He's a well-known theater actor mainly, but also he made some movies as well. And I went to the same school as him. Like he went to the acting class. I went to the directing class. So I know him for a long time. But he was finalist with another actor, and then I chose between the two actors. After I chose the girl, and then we together with her chose the final one, because I felt that the so-called famous chemistry was much better between him than the other actors. So, but I guess both were, after all, really great choices, because they keep surprising me all the time, even after the end screening. I like watching them because I find both performances really rich and colorful and true. So I was really lucky to have both of them.
Yes, and Clara was excellent casting as well. I was curious, how old is she in real life? Because she had, not only is she described as anywhere from 5 to 70 by Aldo, but I couldn't place her age-wise. I'm just curious, what did you look for a 16-year-old, or is she Is she an older actress or a younger? I couldn't tell.
At the time of the shooting, she was 19.
Okay.
But as you say, there is this ageless side of her. So already for every candidate, every girl who appeared at the casting, I asked two very different scenes. One where she has to be a little girl, like in the cafe where she takes those sugar, those cakes, and the other before the dance school when she's making herself as a young woman, like she's trying makeup and everything. So she had to fit in both, at least both scenes, and then get deeper and deeper. And yes, she had all these faces, and her face is so photogenic, and she's very how to say, like hungry to learn. She's very ambitious. That's the word. She's a very ambitious young actress, already with some experience behind her, even before the shooting. She had some theater done, some TV shows. So she really wanted that part, and she was ready to work like for a long time before shooting. We had a long rehearsals. So yeah, she was really collaborating.
Yes. Yeah, and in terms of your directing, clearly you were limited in your set. We were almost entirely in one room. So, what were your challenges in terms of your directing with so much going on in such a confined space?
Many things, many challenges. Even lighting was, even the decoration of that room was hard, because in the book it's described as a very empty, very poorish room of a person, a man who came back alone, just get this apartment from the social ministry. Some other people left there. There is nothing home-like or warm inside. But if you show an empty room, white walls, it's very ugly in cinematography terms again. So you cannot show empty flat walls, because it looks like something else. So the cameraman had this great idea of the shadows of the curtain at night. So it has this huge flowerish motif, which is great because it's not on the wall, but it's on the wall. So things like this we had to think of. And my DP came up with great ideas. So that's also one challenge. And the other was to create a set, because it's a small room. It's not a studio. It was a real apartment. So small location, and I wanted to create a very intimate, but at the same time calm and relaxed atmosphere. So nobody was shouting, never. We didn't have this action camera. Everything was very silent and calm, and it was like if somebody would have looked at the window, he would think that people are meditating or something, a yoga course or something like this. It was so peaceful and relaxed.
It's interesting you say that, because I thought the way you framed the shots, a lot of them through doors, and it gave that intimacy, like the audience was watching them peeking through the doors and the windows. You used a lot of really clever framing that enhanced the experience. It reminded me of The Father. I don't know if you've seen The Father.
Not yet. No, it's on my watch list.
A very similar clever use of crafting in one room, using the door frames really cleverly. Yeah, it really made it such an intimate experience. So that's why when you're watching it, you're wondering, how intimate is this going to be? It almost felt like a children's hideaway. It went between the two of a bedroom and a
nice. Okay, I never thought of that. There was in one part the intention was to be like not to be too indirect with them, not to distract them, like the characters, like watch them, because it's so fragile what's happening there. Let's stay away. And the other reason was, especially at the second half of the movie, is this paranoiac eye of the system, which is represented, for instance, with this landlord or housekeeper or the guy who's always watching. Like everybody is suspicious to the neighbors. So it's like the 1984 Orwellesque world, which was exactly Hungary in the end 40s, early 50s.
Yes, and again, it's another way that you make such a political statement without making a political film, and you're with the use of the lady in the park, who gets very hysterical when she sees Clara sitting on the lap, and you that's, again, it's another scene that says so much about, without saying very much at all politically, the nuances were really there, and that Big Brother's watching.
Yes. In the Hungarian version, only one word was enough to add after her phrase, it's camarade, because people called each other camarade. And when you say anything that a camarade, then you are a communist. The other is might be one or might be not, but the system is the communist system. So then again, very little things, enough already for the audience to understand the situation.
Yeah, and I thought when Pepe comes in and he's so blatant about it, isn't he? He's the political one. He runs in and turns on the radio and he's like, Stalin is dead. And he's, I think that really snapped for me. It snapped me into the reality of what was going on politically, because up until then it was so subtle. And then he's so like, let's move away, our life can begin. And I thought he was a really great addition to the story, because I didn't want him to come because it was going to ruin what they had. But it is like, it reminded me, of having a father, and when you get your first boyfriend and you know that it's the beginning of the end for them. And was that the turning point for you when she meets him? When she
yes,
out of
yes,
love?
yes. But in my book, Aldo made the really first big step to destroy intentionally their beautiful and relationship by calling that woman. In my version, she calls that woman only to push Clara away. It's a kind of sacrifice. She sacrifices the whole rest of his life. He doesn't love that woman. It's a great woman and she loves him, but I don't think she means so much to Aldo, or I didn't want to show that. I guess in another world, in a perfect world, they would be the perfect match, Aldo and Clara. In another, maybe today, 42 and 21, it's an okay relationship today. Yes. It would be.
I feel like he made that sacrifice, and you really sensed when he was sitting in the cafe and he's having the sweets again with, he's reliving the moment, but it's just so lackluster, I suppose. Just as he's really accepted that he's going to settle, I suppose, with the other woman and push Clara away, and her heartache when he says he's met someone else, when she cries that night. I thought that was really palpable. You really, and then she turns a brave face and says, oh no, we're going, that's great, it's wonderful, you've met somebody. Yes. But I thought that was really effective in defining their relationship, because it had to end. It didn't, and it couldn't go on forever, sadly, in that world of that time. I couldn't imagine it could. Maybe, as you said, maybe today.
Well, the real hero and the real victim of that scene, I guess it's Aldo, because she has to push her away. She meant everything for him, everything she meant to him or for him. And then he has to push her away. So the outcome of the movie, I guess she managed to survive as a happy person, more or less. That's the intention of the last scene on the bus, to show a healthy and safe Clara, a young adult Clara, going anywhere under the sun. But for Aldo, I guess I'm not sure about his fulfilled happiness. I guess he stays. Well, of course, his damage is different from the Holocaust. His damage is it's another dimension of loss.
Yes, and I thought the way her innocence and hoping her parents are still alive, she doesn't have to go to the levels of the grief as much, I guess, as Aldo does. We see the pictures of his children, and then they're so lonely. I couldn't get over how lonely every character was, but you end on such a positive note, and again, that's, I applaud you for that, because especially in the time of a pandemic, it resonated more, I suppose. I don't know if you've thought about this, but because of the claustrophobia of the room and the isolation and just how people feel so lonely. And I think the film, for anyone audience who has not seen it yet, but seeing it post-pandemic or during a pandemic, it's going to resonate even more so to an audience, because I thought that transcended all the horrors that were going on outside. But yes, I was curious about your ending, and how was everyone happy? And I wasn't sure. Aldo, when he sheds that little tear, that's when I cried, because he was heartbroken to see her go. But overall,
yes. And I like to leave open some questions. I like when the audience finishes the story their way. I mean, it's great if you leave room for personal own interpretation of their feelings at the end. So I didn't want to be very clear and very obvious about his feelings, about his grief, why he's sad. Some people, you know, even thought that he had cancer or something like this, or he was just sick. It's okay with me. I mean, you know, yes, for me, his sadness and the tear is mainly a man, the tears of a man. It's like for me, it's a beautiful love story in a way, a love story. But I'm happy if somebody don't like this solution, and some people reject this idea. Some people want to keep it only more, even more pure and more innocent and more not to bring it on any kind of love level. And it's okay.
I thought it was love on many, many levels for everyone in the room, and the aunt and Pepe, you know, and all of them, and even for Aldo's new girlfriend. I'm not sure if they're married, but you know that she says she never had children, and for her, she makes a reference to even having a stepdaughter would be such a joy for her, and she is part of a family. And I thought the glimpse of them around the table is that there was joy for many of them post all the grief that they've had.
Yes, it's a relatively happy moment for everybody. Yes, true. All of them.
How did the audiences in Hungary respond to your film?
Very positively. So I guess very positively altogether. So it's like I see it coming up now. There was a school program where now this film is compulsory. So there is this general talk about the movie, which is great to see that it has a so rich life or career, or I don't say this movie. So it reached a lot of people. It was broadcast on the main channel on a Saturday evening. So I guess many people saw it. Then again, of course, there are people who just don't really care about this issue at all. I would say Holocaust or post-Holocaust, or even like historical movies. Some people they would say, why another movie about this again? And you know, I can understand the position as well. So it's because we Hungarians, we tend to look inside ourselves, be depressive, think about the past all the time, and be depressed. And this movie, although it's for me it's a positive movie, and the intention is to show the power of being together with someone after a pandemic or any kind of trauma. But if you read the short synopsis, it's not a very attractive movie. It's not a sexy movie. So
yes,
not to talk about. Yes.
No, I would say to an audience though that is absolutely the opposite. It is uplifting. It's inspiring. It's emotional, and kudos to doing a fabulous job to tell a story that I thought would be familiar and was completely fresh and original. And I left with the tear and a smile, and I really look forward to seeing what you do next. And so for our audience who'd like to see it, it's available on Your Screen website. So don't miss it. It's really, really a treat. And we look forward to, what are you doing next? What do you have next?
I'm starting next month, so I'm in full preparation. I'm really excited. It's great when you think really about the movie and you are so close. It's an adaptation of Stefan Zweig's chess novella. I think in English it's something, The Royal Game. It's a chess, based on chess, but I put it in a Hungarian, again, historical Hungarian 56 revolution. It's full of twists. It's a very different movie. It's faster.
Okay, we'll look out for that. And so, yeah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on your many awards on the film as well. And being shortlisted for Academy Award as well for foreign films. So well done for that. And yes, again, don't miss it, guys, on Your Screen. And we look forward to your next film.
Thank you. Thanks, Valencia. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Valencia and Barnabas. That was fantastic. Came across very clearly. A really interesting conversation. And just to reiterate once again that Those Who Remain is available on Your Screen, the virtual cinema site, where it will be available until the end of September. Just go to watch/yourscreen.net. If you don't yet have an account, it's very easy to set one up, and you can be watching the film within 30 seconds of setting up your account. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.